Now at 5, a Southwest Missouri woman is charged, accused of crashing her car into several motorcycles, killing 4 people. Plus, how you can learn about the history of Joplin Aviation as part of the city's sesquicentennial. And
the NTSB is investigating a plane that crashed after flying into restricted airspace over Washington, D.C. I'm Natalie Brand with what we know about the aircraft and those on board.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A Southwest Missouri woman is now formally charged with fatal DWI after authorities say she crashed into a group of people on motorcycles over the weekend. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. It happened around 11 Saturday morning on Missouri Highway 39 north of Aurora. Troopers say a car driven by Teresa Maketsky of Aurora crossed the center line and struck 5 motorcycles. 4 people died, 2 were motorcycle riders, 2 were passengers. They are 61-year-old Linda Anderson, 59-year-old James Olmstead, 28-year-old Cameron Hale, and 17-year-old female, all from Aurora. 6 more people on motorcycles were seriously injured. Maketsky was also seriously injured. She is now formally charged with DWI, resulting in the death of 2 or more persons. You can read more about this story on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Pretty warm day out there. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy.
Yeah, high temps right around 90 for most of us this afternoon, so almost hot across the region. And then scattered pop-up thunderstorms again, like we have seen really over the past several days with the heating of the day. They pop up pretty good storms. We've had a couple little severe thunderstorms. Most of these are just moderate to strong storms, but if you get stuck underneath one of them, you're going to get some heavy amounts of rain, even a little bit of light, small hail. But you can see them down toward Monette, a big cluster kind of from Nevada over toward Fort Scott, and then once we track a little farther toward the west, pretty good thunderstorm just to the west of Yates Center, just north of Fredonia, and also Neodesha. And these are going to be out there for the next couple hours. Then they will start to calm down. Look at our temps, 90 in Neosho, Miami 89, it's 90 at Grand Lake. Of course, we're going to break down your work week weather for you here in just a bit.
See you soon. The Joplin Regional Airport got a temporary makeover as it makes room for an aviation history exhibit. The exhibit takes a look at Joplin aviation through the ages. It includes pictures, articles, and videos of the history of Joplin aviation.
In the 1950s, aviation was really growing in the area, and so there was a lot of smaller airports around, grass fields and single runway type fields, and so that gave a little bit of competition to everybody, but it brought a lot of business into the areas.
The exhibit is open to the public through Wednesday and will offer tours between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Missouri Southern State University is inspiring kids to try new sports and activities. Children's Lifetime Sports Academy is held every year at MSSU. For 4 days and at $125 a kid, the goal of Sports Academy is to teach skills and to promote an appreciation for simply being active.
Well, I am really pro golf for junior golf. So I coach 2 high school teams, the girls and the boys, and need juniors to get into play golf. You know, it gives them exposure to something else that they may not otherwise know anything of, and golf can be kind of expensive. So
the Academy welcomes children of all abilities, ages 7 through 12. 4 people are dead after their plane veered off course and triggered security concerns in our nation's capital. Reporter Natalie Brand has the latest now from Washington, D.C.
A Ring camera captured the sonic boom that rattled residents in Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, and Southern Maryland Sunday. F-16 fighter jets scrambling to intercept a small plane caused the sound. The aircraft flew into restricted airspace over the nation's capital. The FAA says the Cessna left Elizabethton, Tennessee for Long Island, New York when it suddenly turned around and headed for D.C., then later crashed more than 100 miles away in a remote part of Virginia.
The terrain out here, it's wilderness, is extremely rough, it's extremely steep.
Federal investigators say NORAD made repeated attempts to establish contact, but the pilot did not respond.
Part of this investigation of looking at when exactly did the pilot become unresponsive? And why did the airplane fly the flight track that it did fly? We don't know that information yet.
Aviation experts say the plane could have lost pressurization, causing the pilot to lose consciousness. All 4 people on board were killed. The plane was registered to a Florida-based company owned by John and Barbara Rumpel. John Rumpel told the New York Times that his daughter, 2-year-old granddaughter, her nanny, and the pilot were on the flight. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Washington.
The NTSB is just beginning its investigation. Officials say it could take up to 2 years to issue a final report on what happened and why. Over the weekend and early this morning, teams searching the rubble of a partially collapsed apartment building in Iowa recovered the bodies of 3 men who had been missing. Authorities say family members of those victims have been notified. One of the residents injured in the building collapse has sued the city of Davenport and the building's current and former owners, alleging they knew the building had structural problems and failed to warn residents. Still ahead, the question of arming teachers.
Teachers weigh in on what they think would and would not make schools safer. I'm Astrid Martinez with the findings of a new survey.
And what a new study shows about how surgery could benefit children with a drug-resistant form of epilepsy. Those stories up next in Health Watch. Topping today's Health Watch, children with drug-resistant epilepsy live longer after surgery for their conditions. That's according to new research out of Chicago. The report shows that cranial epilepsy surgery reduced the risk of death by more than 80%. Among children with epilepsy, about 20% have a form of the disease that does not respond to medication. Creating a special sensory environment at the dentist's office could help young people with autism get better dental care. A new study out of USC found adaptations like turning off overhead lights, projecting slow-moving images, and playing calming music or nature sounds reduced distress during dental visits. Children with autism often struggle with dental health and oral care because of sensory issues. Most children who've been injured by a firearm do not get timely access to mental health care. A new report published in the journal Pediatrics looked at the more than 11,000 young people injured by guns in 2020. Researchers say these children are at a nearly double risk for bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and suicidal thoughts. However, the report shows more than 60% do not get mental health services within 6 months. Gun violence is considered a serious public health threat in the U.S. Well, now a new survey shows teachers are split about whether arming themselves would make schools safer. Reporter Astrid Martinez has more.
Gun violence and school safety are top of mind for every community, especially for parents, students, and teachers. Now, a Rand Corporation survey finds 1 in 5 teachers say they would be interested in carrying a gun to school. 20% believe teachers carrying a gun would make schools safer, but 54% believed armed teachers would make schools less safe. And 26% feel either way, it would not make a difference.
I think that they're just under a lot of stress.
Emily Rovar is a licensed social worker at Gen Psych. She says teachers today bear a greater burden.
Not only are they teaching our children, they are having to be mental health professionals in a way, dealing with high emotions, dealing with kids in distress. And then in the back of their mind, they always have the thought of what if someone does come in this school.
And while guns are certainly a big worry, the survey shows teachers' top safety concern is bullying. Rovar says social media plays a big role and makes situations a lot worse.
It is something that is really pervasive and it's increasing. And it's something that we need to talk about and do something about.
Her suggestions: increasing the presence of safety officers and mental health professionals in schools, steps that could help students and their teachers feel safer. Astrid Martinez, CBS News, New York.
Survey also found teachers feel it's important to have a system of threat reporting and intervention. Most are confident that safety threats would be reported. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, the 4 states and dozens of others reach a settlement with a drug maker over the antitrust case.
Plus more thunderstorms out there for us right now. Those details coming up. Well, it turned out to be a nice Monday for us today. We have had some pop-up afternoon thunderstorms across the region, but very hit and miss. So only about 40% of us have picked up any rain, but we are going to continue to have scattered thunderstorms over the next few hours. Nice shot. This is Indigo Sky Casino just outside of Seneca, Missouri. You can see those partly cloudy skies, and we do need the rain. We've had thunderstorms the past several days. It's just been very hit and miss. None in Joplin for the month. At least we're starting out well, just shy of about a half an inch. For the year, we're only at 13 inches, so we are behind by almost 7 inches of rain. So we need it when we can get it, and we have the chance of sticking around most of the week. Look at the scattered showers and thunderstorms popping up throughout the afternoon. We've had a couple severe thunderstorms, so some of these have been a little bit stronger. Winds gusting near 60 and some small hail. Pretty good little guy. So here's southeastern parts of Newton County, so just to the west of Monette. Here's Purdy, here's Cassville. You can see a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning in that cell. Another little guy up towards Stockton Lake, which is producing some heavy amounts of rain. We can go west. Here's Fort Scott, kind of a dying thunderstorm, but still producing some showers and thunderstorms, and then a stronger storm once you get out toward Woodson County. So here's Yates Center, Buffalo, so just to the west of Yates Center. A little severe thunderstorm warning just north of that toward Burlington. Now, once we lose the heating of the day, these will dissipate like they have done over the past couple days. But you can see all this moisture across Central Plains, these pop-up showers and thunderstorms. So where you are seeing the rain, it's 67 in Fort Scott, it's 90 at Grand Lake, Neosho at 90, Pittsburgh is sitting at 80 degrees. Here's 7th and Rangeline. A little bit hazy out there, but still visibilities at 10 miles. Northeasterly winds at about 5 to 10. Through the evening, slide back through the 70s, 60s, eventually mid 60s later on tonight. But all week long, we have this big upper level high. So we get this cold front that is going to back in. So this is going to be late Wednesday into Thursday, keeping those chances for showers and thunderstorms around all the way into the weekend, which is good news because we definitely need the rain. Let's step through the next 48 hours. I'm going to stop at about 7 o'clock in the morning, looking good. Low to mid 60s, partly sunny skies by noon. We're into the 80s. Once we get into the afternoon, here go the scattered thunderstorms once again. Most of us will push 90 for an afternoon high. Thunderstorms die out again tomorrow night. We start calm on Wednesday, mid 60s. As we go through the day, heat up near 90 again. There may be an isolated storm Wednesday, but I really think most of us end up staying dry. Day planner 64 to start, 85 by noon. High temp 89. Those isolated thunderstorms late. 90 on Wednesday, 86 on Thursday. Better chances for thunderstorms Thursday and Friday, and those chances do stick around into the weekend. But overall, pretty good. Look at next Monday. Cool down, high temp, only 78. So pretty
quite a change.
Pretty good temperatures.
In the meantime, it might get kind of steamy around here.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Doug. Millions of people are getting their hands dirty to mark World Environment Day, an event celebrating action to help save our planet. In Paris, crews are working around the clock to clean up the polluted River Seine, time for next summer's Olympic Games. Across Asia and Africa, campaigners are tackling waste and plastic pollution. The United Nations is urging people, businesses, and governments all around the globe to do their part to create a more sustainable world. Coming up, how Gen Z is leading a technological push backward in an effort to unplug. Topping today's Consumer Watch, as worries grow about the future of work and artificial intelligence, a new study finds AI contributed to nearly 4,000 job losses last month. According to data from executive coaching company Challenger, Gray and Christmas. Ever since OpenAI launched ChatGPT last fall, companies have wasted no time implementing AI for administration and clerical tasks. This comes as hundreds of experts last week signed a letter saying artificial intelligence poses a risk of extinction to humanity on the scale of nuclear war and pandemics. Drug maker Indivior has agreed to pay more than $100 million to settle an antitrust case. Indivior is the maker of Suboxone, a drug used to treat opioid use disorder. In 2016, the District of Columbia and 41 states, including Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, sued the company, accusing it of trying to extend its monopoly over the drug. This prohibits other companies from producing generic brands that would lower patients' prescription costs. The company does not admit any guilt in the settlement, but says the deal is a, quote, negotiated compromise. Do you ever feel like you or your kids spend a little too much time staring at the smartphone screen? Yeah, well, members of Gen Z are leading a mini revolution toward unplugging by looking back to technology from the early 2000s. Reporter Jared Hill explains.
Is going dumb the new way to get smart? So-called dumb phones, that is.
Why my friends and I only take our flip phones out.
Gen Zers like Sammy Palazzolo have been forging a path away from the constant connection of smartphones in search of a digital detox.
We realize that every single problem that we have on a night out, everything that leads to us crying, everything that leads to us having a bad hookup, everything that leads to us having a bad time, stems from our phone.
Smartphones still dominate the mobile phone market, but mobile tech companies are reporting a rise in sales in the U.S. for their most basic models, thanks to Gen Z.
Young people themselves are kind of self-censoring and saying, I don't really need the negative mental health and social harms that come with an always connected life.
The flip back to what are called feature phones, good for just a quick call or basic texting, comes as the U.S. Surgeon General issued a new advisory warning of the mental health effects that social media and too much screen time are having on young people.
We know, for example, that when teens are using more than 3 hours a day of social media, they're facing double the risk of depression and anxiety symptoms.
Young or not as young, experts say people trying to unplug don't need to take an all-or-nothing approach. Turn off notifications, put the phone on Do Not Disturb, even change the color to grayscale to make using the screen less exciting. Jared Hill, CBS News.
A handful of companies are also trying to penetrate an in-between market with phones designed to use only certain apps, like those for streaming music or navigation. Gas prices could slightly rise soon. Saudi Arabia says it'll cut 1 million barrels of oil per day for at least a month starting in July. That has U.S. gas futures ticking up and some experts predicting a small increase at the pump. Saudi Arabia is going it alone with the deeper cuts to balance its budget, but OPEC Plus is making news of its own. The BBC reports it's extending the oil reductions it announced in April through next year. The U.S. Mint today is shipping out its latest coin in the American Women Quarters series. It features former First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt and her legacy not only in the White House with her husband, Franklin FDR, but also her role as the first chairperson of the then United Nations Commission on Human Rights. That was later replaced by the UN Human Rights Council. Final check of the forecast next. Up next on the CBS Evening News, a look at the steep cost of childcare in the U.S. Then on KOAM News at 6, a Southwest Missouri man is charged after allegedly fatally stabbing a man. Plus, we're going to have more on the Kids Sports Academy hosted by Missouri Southern, and some Pitt State and Missouri Southern baseball players earn All-America honors. Stay with us. CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Hey, a group in Scotland is looking for some knights in shining armor to buy their real castle on the cheap, but under some conditions. It's only $37,000. No kidding. But the Bruff Lodge Trust wants the new owners to turn the castle into a world-class retreat center, and that might cost you like $15 million, maybe more than that for the renovations. The castle dates back to the 1820s and has towers, gardens, and a courtyard. So
always a catch.
Yeah, there's that little $15 million catch. It's only a couple hundred years old.
It's true.
As castles go,
yeah,
that's modern.
Pretty new.
Absolutely. Probably doesn't have Wi-Fi though.
No.
The weather.
Looks pretty good. We're going to have scattered thunderstorms out there over the next couple hours, and then they kind of fall apart. Tonight's going to be fine. We'll drop back to about 65.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here for KOAM News at 6. Let's make it a great evening.